Kyle, Thunderbolts has been a big success. We don't know if it's been a big success financially yet. We'll have to wait a couple of weeks to see how that all pans out. But it has been a smash hit with the critics and the fans. Obviously, we're talking about that A- cinema score, the 95% Rotten Tomatoes audience score, which is verified users, the 88% critic score. So it's doing well. And what do you do when you have a project that's doing well critically? You want to keep the person around responsible for that in your loop. Well, Kyle, this is coming to us from Deadline. Jake Schreier, the director of Thunderbolts, is in talks with Marvel Studios to direct the X-Men. And I had someone else in mind for X-Men, and we've talked about it before. But coming out of Thunderbolts and being on the Marvel high that I haven't been on in such a long time, like, I was on it with Daredevil Born Again, but it wasn't that coming out of a movie Marvel high. It's completely different. I love Born Again, but when you come out of a Marvel movie and it's great, it's like, oh. So I think Drake Schreier is a great choice. Me personally, I would have wanted Ryan Coogler. I felt like they were going in that direction, but he's got Black Panther to sort out, and it seems like Warner Brothers is going to scoop him up once he's done with Black Panther. And I'm not surprised after the success of Sinners. But Jake Schreier, what do you think of this, Kyle? Are you happy with it? You know, obviously there's going to be a little bit of recency bias here because he's just done an amazing film.
I'm gonna sneeze. What is it?
Cucumber, cucumber, cucumber,
cucumber, cucumber, cucumber. It worked. It worked.
Yeah,
Right.
I understood that reference.
Oh no, I genuinely did need to sneeze then, but yeah, I'm good. So, yes, I'm glad that Marvel are locking down directors still. And this is a good one to have. I just for X-Men though, I'm not too sure. And this is because I mean, coming out with the Thunderbolts with a multicast, multi-hero kind of team up, you know, uh, a team
Ensemble.
up movie. Yeah, that's the word I'm trying to get. I don't know because it felt as much as I really enjoy Thunderbolts, and we spoke about it. We spoke about it many times now, and there's a review. Go check that out.
We've
But
said it 3 times now.
yeah, I just don't think it does. He didn't do the best job when it came to making all of the characters feeling like kind of main characters. It felt very much like, yeah, Yelena is the lead in this, even though it's an ensemble of these other characters. Of course, you do need a lead in a film, but you've got other films where, like, say the Russo brothers, when it came to Infinity War, like Cap wasn't in the movie that much, but he served a massive purpose. Even if he wasn't, if it's like the shortest screen time ever, he served a massive purpose. If they can do that, if he's able to do that with the X-Men, then yes, I'm on board. But just from what I've seen of Thunderbolts, I would much rather have him do more personal stories in that sense of like singular characters, or maybe like a roster of 3 max characters. Maybe 2 good guys, maybe like the main good
I want to
guy
counter
and
you
the
on this a
villain.
bit because I get what you're saying, and look, all I'd say is the Russo brothers going into Infinity War and Endgame had all these other films to springboard off. So by the time you get to Infinity War, you know Captain America, you know Thor, you know Iron Man. You don't need to build these characters up. Yeah, there's arcs, but you look at Infinity War, Infinity War, and Endgame and stuff. Infinity War, there's 3 very clear main characters, and that would be let's say 4. 4. So we've got Thor, Thanos, Iron Man, and I'd maybe put Doctor Strange in there as well for Infinity War. But all these other supporting characters are great. Thunderbolts, we didn't have leading up to it. Yeah, we know Yelena a little bit. She's been in 1 film and 2 episodes of a TV show. Bucky's got all the background. He's been in there for 11 years now, so that's fine. No, was it longer than that? About 14 years. Sebastian Stan's been in the MCU. We know Bucky, and he was the most stable character in there. Ghost, one film. John Walker, a TV show. Red Guardian, one film. So all these characters haven't had the time to shine that these other ones have. So him going into an X-Men film, yeah, he would need to pick 3 characters, 1 or 2 characters to put all his focus in and have some of them go to the sidelines a bit. But then you look at the Guardians Galaxy trilogy. By the time you get to the end of the trilogy, you've explored all these characters very deeply. So I feel like it's about prioritizing, because you look at Joss Whedon, and this is my criticism with Joss Whedon. I love the first 2 Avengers films, but I don't feel like the characters stand out as characters. The team stands out amazingly, but I feel like that's written for them to play off each other, whereas the Russos do it in a way where it's like, no, these characters have individual moments and can play well together. And look at the first X-Men films. They were Wolverine films, not X-Men films.
That's what I'm afraid of. That's what I think might happen again. I know you're saying, oh yeah, that they need time to build up, but and I get that, but you know, I don't know.
If you go into the first film and you try and look at Eternals, for example, and you try and establish everyone.
But it's not. No, I'm not. I'm not saying establish. I think that's where you're getting a little mixed up in what I'm saying. I'm not saying establish. I'm saying they need to have purpose in the film. Like,
yeah,
yes, yeah. Every character in Thunderbolts, of course, had a purpose. But when you compare, say, like, I don't know, U.S. agents, what he does in the film compared to what Cap does in the film, and Cap has less screen time in Infinity War. Yeah, he's not. We don't know US Agent as much. Fair enough, I get that, but he still had a bigger impacting moment in the film compared to US Agent, if that makes sense.
But that was also a bigger film.
I know, I know.
Every little thing people did in that, like, oh, you see that interaction with Thor?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
What I'm saying is, with the X-Men, I feel like, for me, the confidence comes in if the Russos are doing it, because they know how to handle, they've proven they know how to handle all these characters on screen at the same time. They know how, give this guy a little bit of screen time, but give him a bigger, lasting, memorable moment. And, maybe it's just something he needs to build up upon, and we need to see him direct something else with another team or something like that. But I would love for him to come back and direct something else. I'm just not sure if X-Men is the way forward for me personally.
I absolutely think it is, because I don't think we're going to get another Thunderbolts, because, spoilers for Thunderbolts, it isn't Thunderbolts. It's New Avengers. I think he's the perfect choice. I feel like you go in and you pick characters to focus on. But you were mentioning US Agent. I feel like, John Walker did quite a bit in Thunderbolts. He had a good arc. Yeah, he's still, a douchebag. But he does have that bit of an arc. They all do. And it is Yelena's story. And we see it more through her eyes and more Bob's story. But I feel like if, X-Men, Jake Schreier, get him in there, maybe focus on Cyclops, Jean, Professor X, and then maybe, if they're doing a villain, Magneto. And then the team around them can have these roles, which I don't think are minor roles, because they're part of the teams, like a Ghost, like a John Walker, like a, Bucky. I don't think Bucky did a right lot. He shows up like pretty much halfway through the film. But yeah, he does make an impact. I just feel like you want an X-Men film and want everybody to get a full story arc in the first film.
I'm not saying that. No, I'm saying it's just being able to balance all the characters on screen.
I think he did a great job balancing.
I think he did. I think he did okay. I don't think. I think you enjoy it more than I did in that sense, but I kind of disagree with you on that. That's just I'm not saying
You're not allowed to.
they. Well, I'm not
We're supposed to be
saying
a unified front.
no. We're not. We're
We're
meant to
supposed to be a
discuss.
unified front in that. So
No, but in all seriousness, I think I'm on this side, Colin. I think he should definitely come back and direct something in the MCU. I'd love him to come back because, like I said, I did enjoy Thunderbolts as a Marvel movie. I think maybe having a smaller, more grounded story suits the director's his sort of
yeah,
style and flair. Definitely suits him in that regard, and the more personal and stories between a smaller amount of people. I think that'll probably work better for him. Like I said, I think he'd do a great job, Callum. Actually, screw the X-Men. Don't let him do that. I think he would absolutely smash it if he did a Midnight
it's on
Suns
Jean
movie.
Grey.
Right.
Sorry,
The
what?
I think he would do a fantastic job, a better job than X-Men if he did Midnight Suns, a Midnight Suns movie. Because he would then be able to focus on like the groundedness of it, and it's like, yeah, you've got the magical elements like Sentry, he's like the super hero, bigger than life kind of character, and then you've got these other great grounded characters in Thunderbolts. I think that'd be a great way for him to continue doing that and developing that and doing what he clearly can do really well, but with
Yeah,
Midnight Suns. It's
I
a smaller team. I think
well,
that's what the direction
well,
they should take it.
we don't know how big the X Men team's going to be. It could be that original lineup. It could be the original five. We just don't know. And like
I
I say,
know,
it's hard to say, until we know exactly a bit more about this film. But let's
but
just
I wouldn't want him to direct X-Men. I would rather him do Midnight Suns. That's where I
so
stand on it.
I don't think we're going to get Midnight Suns. I think they're scrapping that whole side of it.
I think so too. But if there was any chance of it, existing later down the line, this is your guy to do it.
Let's say Comic Con this year. Not that I think this is going to happen, because I don't think they're going to announce anything until after Secret Wars. They come out, bring Jake Shire on stage. Hey! Wow, what's he doing here? Oh, just letting you all know, Jake's going to be directing the X-Men coming in 2028. Would you be annoyed by it?
I won't be annoyed by it. No, I think I don't know. I need to see a bit more. I'm not going to say I'm annoyed or upset about it. I'm just
Yeah,
saying
and look,
my preference is probably I'm saying no. That's what I'm
and,
saying.
and look, I'll give you this as well. You look at Jake's resume. It ain't the greatest. It really ain't. But from what he did with Thunderbolts, I feel like you can. To me, I'm picturing Thunderbolts and X Men in a very similar light. You
I'm
know,
not. You
and
say.
you're picturing something very different. I'm picturing a very small team starting off, and yeah. But anyway, look, I think he did great with Thunderbolts. If Marvel's got faith in him, I've got faith in him as well, and we can